Welcome to the channel, and in this video I wanted to go over my collection of the Hellboy movies. There's 4 live action films and 2 animated movies, so let's get into the video. First up is the original film that was directed by Guillermo del Toro, and I bought this 4K steelbook as a gift for myself this past Christmas. One of the main reasons I upgraded this to 4K was that it came with some new bonus features. There's 2 new audio commentaries, with one of them having both Del Toro and Hellboy creator Mike Mignola. Del Toro also did a new introduction to the film, along with a new interview. It's only 7 minutes, but it's pretty informative. He talks about how he was inspired by Ray Harryhausen films, and that he wanted to make a fun action-adventure film. He also talks about how he discovered Hellboy while he was making the movie Mimic, a movie that almost turned him away from ever making a Hollywood movie again, all due to his clashes with the Weinsteins. He would end up being persuaded by David Goyer to direct Blade 2, and after that he made this Hellboy movie. This steelbook also has the director's cut on the 4K, and on the Blu-ray it only has the theatrical, so I kept my previous Blu-ray that has the director's cut on it. Also, the digital copy this comes with is only the theatrical cut. I also own the first Hellboy on UMD, and it comes with the director's cut. This cut is about 10 minutes longer than the theatrical version. The only real difference is that it fleshes out the characters a bit more. Ron Perlman is just great in this role, and it's really hard to not hear his voice whenever I read a Hellboy comic. He's a great actor and has the ability to pull off being a badass, but can also pull off being vulnerable as well. He also has great comedic timing. I also like Selma Blair as Liz Sherman. When I watched Hellboy 2 like a year ago, I looked her up because it's been a while since I've seen her in anything, and I was really bummed to find out that she's been dealing with MS. She seems like she's in good spirits, and she made a documentary about her struggles with MS. I'll check it out sometime. It's called Introducing Selma Blair. An interesting tidbit about this franchise is that every live action film was made by a different studio. So Sony put this one out, and that's the reason why this movie got a UMD release for their handheld. After the first Hellboy movie came out and didn't really light the box office on fire, so to keep the franchise afloat they made 2 animated movies. A lot of the main cast reprised their roles, and these movies helped bridge the gap between Del Toro's 2 films. Sword of Storms was the first to be released, and it was a loose adaptation of the Right Hand of Doom comic. Hellboy and the BPRD deal with 2 ancient Japanese demons, and it's a pretty fun film, and the animation, I would say, is sort of on par with the DC animated superhero movies. Blood and Iron was released a few months later and is another loose adaptation, but of the Wake the Devil storyline. Watching these movies, I was reminded that Ron Perlman voiced Raiden in the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm animated series from the 90s. If you haven't seen these movies, I highly recommend you check them out, especially if you're sad they never got to make a 3rd film. At least you had these further adventures of this version of the BPRD to check out. Next, I have the Best Buy exclusive Blu-ray steelbook for Hellboy 2. Universal was the studio that made this, and I'm sure they were hoping to bank off the continuing popularity of comic book movies, but this movie didn't do well enough to warrant a 3rd movie, unfortunately, and I think a lot of that has to do with The Dark Knight coming out the week after this. The movie still made a little bit of money, plus it came out during the tail end of video store rentals, and physical media was still alive and well, adding more to the movie's profitability. I go back and forth on which of these movies I like more, and at this moment I'd probably give the edge to this movie. Luke Goss makes for a formidable foe for Hellboy. He also played the main villain in Blade 2 for Del Toro. Seth MacFarlane is a welcome addition to the BPRD team. His voice doesn't sound too similar to one of his Family Guy characters. The creatures and makeup effects look great, but that's to be expected from any film of Del Toro's. The troll market scene really showcases all the cool creatures that inhabit this world. There's a really cool special feature that dives into that scene. There's a 4K out for this movie, but they didn't add any new special features, so I'm happy with this edition for the time being. I also own the Golden Army on UMD. This was only released in the UK, but it is region free, so it works on my Region 1 PSP. I came across this on eBay and bought it with my first paycheck when I worked at Lowe's. I've since brought it with me on a couple trips, and I wish Del Toro got to make a 3rd movie, and I know he really tried to make it several times, but I guess it came down to the fact that he wanted like a $150 million budget, and the studio just wouldn't fork over the money to make it. I can understand from the studio's perspective because these movies weren't massive successes to warrant that kind of a budget, but it's a bummer because this movie sets up a 3rd film with Liz making a deal with death to save Hellboy, even though he will bring about the apocalypse one day. This movie also has probably my favorite depiction of death. It's a really cool design and was played by Doug Jones, who also plays Abe Sapien in these films. I also have this Golden Army statue that came with a limited edition DVD set that I had. I think I might have just donated the DVD to Goodwill or something when I bought that steelbook. The statue is pretty dope, and I wish we got more cool statues with physical media, but that would probably drive up the price, and prices are way too high as it is. That set also came with a booklet that has early concept designs from Del Toro, along with anecdotes about the creatures. Some of it is in English, and then some of it I think is written in Spanish. It's still cool to see, and I know Del Toro is very specific about everything he puts on screen. I remember an interview with Charlie Day where he talked about working on Pacific Rim, and that Del Toro's attention to detail rivals Stanley Kubrick's. He really is a true auteur, and I might not like every film he's made, but I always appreciate his work. Next, I had the reboot from 2019. I saw this in theaters and I just remember not liking it, but I bought this steelbook simply for the fact that the Hellboy creator Mike Mignola did the artwork for it. I know I've mentioned this a lot, but I just wish more comic book artists were commissioned to do artwork for the home video releases. I rewatched this movie for this video because I haven't seen it since the theater, and I really want to like this movie, and I'm actually all for reboots, but this movie is just a mess. It's based on the Wild Hunt storyline from the comics, and the movie just stretches itself thin with just cramming in so much, and it just bogs down the movie. The recastings I didn't mind, with David Harbour as Hellboy and Ian McShane as Professor Broom. Neil Marshall directed this, and he and the producers clashed throughout the production over creative differences. I like Neil's work, so I had faith he would make a good movie, but I turned out to be wrong. This movie is also very gory. I didn't remember that at all, and it felt pretty forced at times. The action isn't bad, and I actually like the final sequence. I'm not even a Motley Crue fan, but that action scene is a lot of fun, and it felt like something out of a Matthew Vaughn film. It doesn't fit the tone of the last 90 minutes, and I would have been up for something more like that than what we actually got. This movie ended up bombing at the box office, and critics just hated it, making this reboot a failed entry in the franchise. Last year we got another reboot with Hellboy the Crooked Man. This movie didn't get a wide release, and they opted to put it out on VOD instead. I picked up this DVD to give this movie a chance, and yeah, the movie does look pretty cheap, and especially cheap compared to the previous 3 films, but is the movie any good? It's not great, but I would be more keen on rewatching it over the 29 reboot. The movie plays like a side story in that Hellboy and his partner get stranded in some woods and encounter some supernatural, spooky people. So it's not an origin story, and you don't get to see this version of the BPRD or see any greater ties into the Hellboy universe. I think it works in some ways to this movie's benefit to strip everything away, isolate Hellboy in the woods, and see how he's going to survive. This was intended to be more of a horror movie, and this movie isn't scary in the slightest. The Crooked Man looks like a lame Goosebumps character, but I did think Jack Casey did a good job as Hellboy, and I really liked Adeline Rudolph as Bobby Joe. And I'm excited to see her as Katana in the upcoming Mortal Kombat film. If you were curious at all about this film, I would say it's worth checking out. Just go in with low expectations and you might think it's okay. Thanks for watching this video on the Hellboy franchise. I really enjoyed the character and what Mike Mignola created. I hope the franchise gets back on track and reaches the heights of the 2 Del Toro films again. Let me know what you think of these films in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a movie time.
Thank you.
My job.